Tuesday, 3:17 a.m. One wire. That's all it took. Every single day, you trust it completely. Your money, your medical records, the plane you flew on last summer, the trade that moved markets this morning. You were told it all lives up there, in the cloud. Safe, redundant, untouchable. And why wouldn't you believe it? They built entire brand identities around that idea. Here is what they didn't tell you. 4 inches wide, the diameter of a garden hose, carrying more data than every satellite ever launched, combined. This is where your data actually lives. 552 cable systems, 800,000 miles, laid by hand, on the floor of the ocean, connecting every continent on Earth. You are looking at the actual internet, not a diagram, not a metaphor. The actual internet. But here's the thing about a network this size. Its greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. In 1858, before the telephone, before the radio, before the light bulb, engineers lowered the first telegraph cable into the Atlantic. It failed twice. On the third attempt, it worked. For 3 weeks. Then it went silent. Today, the glass fibers inside a single cable carry 160 terabits per second, roughly 16 billion simultaneous phone calls. Through a wire you could snap with your hands. A cable nobody can find is a cable nobody can cut. Past tense. You've used this every day of your life. You never knew it existed. Neither did they. Until recently. There are fewer than 60 of these ships on the entire planet. 60 ships. To maintain the entire nervous system of human civilization. This is what you're actually looking at. Polyethylene casing, the outer skin, waterproof, steel wire armor to survive anchor strikes, fishing trawlers, the pressure of 4,000 meters of water above it, copper, carrying the electrical current that powers the repeaters keeping your signal alive across thousands of miles. And here, in the very center, this. 8 strands of glass, each one thinner than a human hair. This is the part that actually carries your data. This is the internet. 95% of this cable exists for one reason only: to protect something you could snap between your fingers. Each strand of glass is engineered to carry light, not electricity, not radio waves. Light, fired at a rate of billions of pulses per second. Each pulse, a piece of your world, traveling at the speed of physics itself. When you send a message from New York to London, it crosses the Atlantic as light, in approximately 60 milliseconds. Your brain takes 300 milliseconds to process a single thought. But speed means nothing if the path is broken. And there are places on this map, specific, identifiable, unavoidable places, where the entire system becomes something terrifyingly simple to destroy. The Red Sea, one of the most important digital corridors on the planet. 17% of all global internet traffic passes through here. Every year, 20,000 ships navigate this stretch of water. Now, peel back the water. Every one of those ships is sailing directly above cables carrying the financial transactions of entire continents, the medical data of entire populations, the military communications of sovereign nations. And not one of those ships is required by international law to know the cables are there. The Red Sea is not alone. The Strait of Malacca, Southeast Asia's entire digital infrastructure, threaded through a corridor 25 miles wide at its narrowest point. The English Channel, beneath some of the busiest shipping lanes in the world, cables connecting the United Kingdom to the entire European continent. And here, Taiwan, where a single geological event or a single deliberate act could sever Asia's connection to the Pacific in minutes. There are no fences down here, no cameras, no Coast Guard vessels running patrols, no alarm that sounds when something gets too close. Just glass, in the mud, carrying the world. And somewhere above it, something is coming. January 18th, 2024. 12,000 feet beneath the surface of the Red Sea. something went silent. Then another. Then another. In 72 hours, 3 separate undersea cables had been severed. In the same corridor, in the same region. 25% of all data traffic between Europe and Asia, gone. Not slowed, not degraded, gone. In East Africa, hospitals lost access to cloud-based patient records. In the Middle East, financial institutions began processing transactions manually for the first time in decades. In parts of Asia, government communications were rerouted through backup systems never designed to carry that volume. And the world barely noticed. The official explanation arrived 48 hours later. Anchor drag. 3 cables. Same week. Same corridor. Anchor drag. Look at the distance between them. A single dragging anchor covers meters, not miles. Gray zone warfare. There is a concept that has been circulating in military and intelligence circles for the better part of a decade. It has no universally agreed definition. It has no formal declaration. It exists precisely because it was designed to. No bombs, no troops, no declaration, no enemy to name. Just disruption. Carefully calibrated, deniable by design. The Red Sea was not an isolated incident. 2022. The Shetland Islands. A single cable cut. An entire Scottish island chain loses internet for weeks. Cause? Officially undetermined. 2023. The Baltic Sea. 2 cables and a gas pipeline severed within days of each other. A Chinese vessel identified in the area. No charges filed. 2024. Waters near Taiwan. 2 cables cut within 48 hours of a Chinese naval exercise in the region. Beijing calls it coincidence. Coincidence. Anchor drag. Adverse weather. Every single time. When a cable breaks, this is what happens next. First, sensors detect the signal loss. That takes minutes. Then, engineers pinpoint the location of the break using signal reflection technology. That takes hours. Then, a repair ship is dispatched, the nearest one, which may already be at sea on another job, in another ocean. And then, 14 days, on average. From the moment a cable breaks to the moment a repair ship arrives on site. 14 days during which hospitals operate blind. Financial markets reroute through degraded infrastructure. Military communications travel paths they were never designed to travel. There are no NATO submarines patrolling these cable routes. There are no international rapid response units. There is no global early warning system. There is a treaty from 1884 that technically prohibits the deliberate cutting of undersea cables. 1884, the year before the automobile was invented. Right now, somewhere in the world, a cable is being monitored that shouldn't need monitoring. A vessel is moving slowly over a corridor it has no business being near. And 14 days from now, someone will have to explain it away. Every single thing you just saw runs through the cables. We talk about the internet as though it is a luxury, a convenience, something we use to watch films and argue with strangers. But somewhere in the last 30 years, without a vote, without a debate, without anyone really deciding, the internet became something else entirely. It became infrastructure. The same category as roads, as water, as electricity. Except roads have police. Water has treatment facilities with armed security. Power grids have military protection protocols. And the cables have 60 ships. This is not a secret, not to the people who are supposed to protect it. In 2023, NATO formally identified undersea cable infrastructure as a primary target in any future hybrid conflict. The report described existing protections as wholly inadequate for the threat environment. Wholly inadequate. This was not a warning about the future. This was an assessment of the present. They are not owned by governments. The infrastructure that carries military intelligence, financial systems, and civilian communications for entire nations is owned, operated, and maintained predominantly by private corporations. Governments need permission to protect infrastructure they do not own. Corporations have no obligation to accept military protection they did not ask for. And in the space between those two positions, the cables sit on the ocean floor, unguarded, waiting. The most valuable infrastructure in human history, protected by a treaty written before the car was invented, and the goodwill of nations that are currently, openly, competing to control the world's information flows. There are people who understand exactly what is at stake. They go to sea for weeks at a time. They work in conditions that would ground most military operations. They fix what breaks, mostly before you ever notice it broke. 60 ships, 800,000 miles of cable, 8 billion people depending on both. The math has never added up. The next time someone tells you your data lives in the cloud, you know where it actually lives. The question is, who else does?